What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World, and in today's video we're going to be discussing subs, the truth about subs, because in my opinion, if you know what you're doing in the studio, you know how to design sounds, you do not need a sub unless you're going out of your way to use a sub. Now there are going to be scenarios where you are going to want a sub, and in today's video I'm going to show you guys what a sub is, when do you want to use one, what are the pros and the cons of using a sub to this. For the beginners, if you don't know what a sub is, or you've heard people talking about sub, all they're referring to is sub frequency and a sound that is going to take that up versus the original bass, which again, if you do this, you overcomplicate the process, and you're going to see why in a sec. Now, usually, most people will discover subs with the uses of a sine wave, which is the purest waveform we have. It's just the fundamental frequency, or just that one frequency. When I play this, if you have the right sound system, or if you're on headphones, you are going to be hearing a boom right now, and you think you're in an ASMR video, but I promise you, you're not. Range from the frequency of 60 all the way down to 30 hertz and below. Now the sub itself will have strong points and weak points. The power zone, or the strength of a sub, usually comes from the F key all the way up to A, G, and as you start to go up, it starts to weaken and sound kind of too happy, and below, see, it starts to kind of lose its presence, but you still feel it. Now, if you're a peasant and don't have speakers that go down below 40 hertz, which again, even me, I had to get a sub to go down below this, you're not even going to hear it unless you're on headphones. That's the range we are looking at affecting, and we utilize, again, a very basic sine to create the sub for us. Now, this is the first misconception that most people have, and what I like to teach people is you do not need a sine to create your sub. You can use any waveform to create your sub, because the problem with the sine is that it's so pure. It hasn't even lived yet. It hasn't had drugs, cocaine, alcohol. So the sub is so simple. Now, most people will do, in order to counteract that, is they will distort this sine, this sub, to bring in harmonic frequencies and get a bass that becomes more apparent. Now, if I play the low C, you can hear it. Okay, but here's the thing. What I usually teach my students is, if you're going to be in the key of F to A, then okay, use a sine. But if you're not, there is no reason for you to use a sine. I always tell my students, use a square, use a filter, low pass 24, and remove all those upper frequencies, increase the drive a bit, and there you go. You have a fat ass sub without any complications of distortion and any complications of human error, which will occur. And this is one of the cons of using a sub, human error, because now you have more that you have to be on top of. So from here, the other thing I like to show is also use a saw, up an octave and increase the level, use span, and fill in that valley. We're gonna route it there. Fill in the valley of death, that's the one here. And we're gonna get this, check it, check it, check it, here we go. Look at that, we're gonna fill that out. Let's open it up a bit more. And now we have more of a rounded low end. We're gonna move this down. And this is the strongest sub that you will ever hear. This is the strongest sub. I made a video about the perfect sub. Now from here, we do want to put the rand phase down. This is what we would call a retrig, because we're pretty much telling the synth, we want the phase, the starting position of these waves that we're using to create the sub, to start at the same position. So if this wave is starting down here where it's down, I want to make sure that this one starts when it's down as well. With the sub, I always tell my students to leave the sustain kind of up, because with low end, we always want it to be stable, dependable. We don't want it all over the place, but we do want to, again, follow whatever sound we are going to be putting it on. What sound is the sub going to be altering with? And we're going to get into that in just a sec. Do this properly. You really don't need to be doing anything else. All you have to do is level, but the complications start to arise when you start to layer it with another sound, which we're about to get into. So here I have a song that I've been working on. It doesn't have a master, just for context, but I believe that the kick and the bass already sound full and there is no sub that is needed. Now let me explain why you don't need a sub if you're going to be making bass lines. Here I'm using this plugin called MARIANA, which I recommend. It's a MOOG based plugin and it sounds good. I have a MOOG Sub 37 over here that I spent a lot of money on. I spent $50 on this thing and I guarantee you it sounds the same. Now when you're making bass lines, especially especially for trance, psytrance, pop, anything really where you're just gonna want a strong bass and you're gonna have a lot of stuff on top. You're gonna go for simpler bass lines, and if you don't, as you get better as a producer, you're gonna gravitate towards them. Usually a bass line with one saw, one square, you're gonna find that is the cure to your low end issues a lot of the times. Now, don't worry if you make drum and bass and dubstep. We're about to get into that in another example. So for this example, there is no reason for me to use a sub. For example, here's the bass. Can we all agree that this already sounds fucking full? It's good. And if you don't like the top end of the bass, use your low pass filter to move that down. Look at that. Look at that. Now from here, here's my next thing. A lot of people, why would you layer a sub? Why not just boost the low end? If you want more sub, here you go. Because remember, I'm using a square wave here. The square wave is derived from a sine that has been distorted. Frequencies have been added to that sine to create the square wave. Odd harmonics, odd frequencies. Okay, let's keep it simple. So what's the difference between me adding a sine to this? Like just boost where the sine is, which is the fundamental. And there you go. You got all the sub. If that's how much sub you want, there you go. But what you're going to find, sometimes you don't need that. Now, okay, there's that. Okay, keep it simple, blah, blah, blah. Even with a Reese, even with anything, when you want a stable low, and now we're going to get into it though. So let's assume that for some reason I'm not happy with this, which you're never going to be happy with your own music. When you make it about yourself and try all this, you're never going to be happy. So you have to always comply or like give in. But the cool thing is you always give in and you get better at giving in at the right time. However, let's say that I say, you know what, this is some bullshit, and I want this fat and in your face. So I start doing crazy things that I shouldn't be doing. But let's say that we want to. So I start using things like Saturn. I start using distortion on this guy. Okay, now I need a sub. So how do we create a sub, right? Let's assume that I didn't mess it up that much. Let's assume here that I'm gonna use this. Right? So let's go like, oh, you know, I heard online that I need a sub. Okay, well, you're going to chop this off. That's the first thing, because now you need to make way for a sub. Okay, from there, you're going to use a synth of choice to create a sub. I believe that you don't really need any fancy synth. Use the one you already have. If you have a sine, you got a sub, brah. But from there, let's keep it simple. We're going to use just the basic sine. Retrig it because we want control, because we want to play the where it starts, because you're going to notice that plays a huge role as well in how it interacts with this sound. Okay, so here I have this bass. Now I have my sub. Okay, we're going to add that there. Okay, now we need to put it on the right octave, okay? If serum is at C0, 0 octave, then this needs to be at C0 range to C1. That's the first part too that I have to say. As we go, I'm going to kind of highlight parts that I see a lot of newbies, don't take offense, where they mess up. They put it too high or too low. The sub ain't doing anything there, so we go here. And now it's doing something. Okay, but now notice how I've overcomplicated this, because now I need to care about the level of the sub in correlation with the main bass, and I need to care about what frequencies the bass is taking up versus the sub. Do I need to saturate the sub? So there are things here that I could have avoided, and I promise you it's going to sound exactly the same. Okay, now I got this guy here. So we're gonna group. So I make sure both of these are getting ran through the shitter. There we go. So now you can see, okay, this bass has this low frequency here still, but it's kind of cut. So we're gonna go with this. From here we have the sub. Gonna remove some of the highs we don't need. And now we have to learn how to level this. Now there is a pro here. The pro is that you have control on the frequency on the bottom. So you can see, like I can see the sub, so I'm gonna bring that up. And you're gonna start seeing it pop its head out. It's coming in. There you go. So now you have control on that. So we play it all together. We have control on the tops. And we have control on that sub. But the problem is now the sub level in correlation with the bass is another that newbies mess up when they use a sub. And then they wonder why their bass doesn't pop out like the pros do in their songs. Because now you have this and you're confusing yourself, okay? You didn't need a sub to begin with, but for the sake of it, we're doing it. Now, again, if you're going to be processing heavily on the bass, then you do need a sub. Here, I'm going to start doing all this on it. I don't know why we would want to, but it's there. There you go. the tone around that cut sounds shit. Sometimes shit. Like if you do this cut on something where the frequencies are harmonic, let's say you're playing a G, but that frequency that you just cut before is a G, but then you're at the frequency of the A sharp. Now you get the perception like the bass just changed key or tone. Okay, these cuts are, again, they're like a fucking double-edged knife. You stab the other guy and you stab yourself. Hopefully you live and he dies, right? We understand that. Hopefully we leveled, and that's why we would want to use a sub, because I just ruined the low end of the bass and now we have a sub. I keep repeating myself, but I want you guys to understand that. My ninjas, you guys will make music. We're gonna take over, okay? And then you gotta get the low end right. Now let me give you another example. Now, this one is going to be a bit more advanced, okay, because we are dealing with a track that has multiple sounds going off in the genre of drum and bass, okay? By the way, if you like any of these sounds, I do make drum and bass packs, which are hidden gems. I'm just saying, the sounds don't sound thin. They sound full, okay? I know many of you guys deal with that OTT bullshit. Okay, anyways, point being, here I have the drop. Okay, now I have a multitude of 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4 sounds going off, 4 different bass lines. Now the problem with that is that if these bass lines are not done properly, right? Now we don't have a stable sub low end. So this is when you're gonna want to create a sub. This is one scenario where there is no question about it. You're gonna need a sub because you have multiple sounds going. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a new channel called the sub. Okay, and we're going to grab Serum, and you guys already know the deal. Now, I do want to bring this to attention. As you guys know, we can go with a sine or we can go with a square or a sock combination. The only way you know which one you're going to go with is, again, if the sound you have doesn't have the mid-lows, the 100 hertz, the 200, the 80 hertz, then you go with the square. Okay. If it does, then you can go ahead and use a sine. So we'll try a sine for now, and if we need to, we go to a backup plan, the mega weapon. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna group these guys into their own group, call them the bass shots. Okay, and we're gonna have this. Okay, now we're gonna grab an EQ, and we're gonna remove all the low end out of them. It's right here. Oh, look at that fucking sound that comes in there. This one, I'm going to try a hard cut, see if it does anything. At 80, 60. Not bad. From there, and the idea would be to combine these like a human centipede sort of thing and just drop them in here, but we're going to have to do this. And then it'll work. Don't worry, man. J, bring it together. Now, we're not noobs here. We know we're at C3 to C4 range, so we go -3 on this. And there's our sub, baby. Now random phase, because we want the sub to be strong always. Simple as that. Now you guys know you span, that's free. Look at that. And now we're gonna level with this. There's the sub. You know, we got the sub. We want to sidechain the sub. Now, the cool thing about having a sub as well is that we can start to play around. Damn, I didn't even sidechain this, bro. That's how good these sounds are. What? Let's say that you understand, you're an advanced producer, so you understand when it comes to the relationship of the kick with the rest of the song. The only reason we do these kind of side chains on bass is to remove the bass out of the way of the kick, because it's like a Democrat and a Republican in the room. It's just not going to happen. No one's going to cave in. Okay, it's fine. But also when it comes to the kick and the high frequency bass sounds, we know that when it comes to the kick, the high frequency, the click of the kick is the only thing we want punching through. After that, everything else is low end, baby. So we want all these other sounds to come so we don't have to sidechain as hard on these guys because we have that sub, right? So that's another pro for the sub, okay? So we're going to go grab. We did have that damn sub there though, bro. Okay, and then we're going to put sidechain from the kick. If you like any other plugins, I have an affiliate link. Please use it. You support the channel. I get 10 cents when you buy this Kickstart for $1,000. 10 cents, and that's going to help me feed my kid. So now, since it's the top bass, I mean, I'm going to go around here with Reese, and I'm not going to, the mix isn't going to go to 100. I'm going to ease up on it. Now it's not getting sidechained to oblivion. But on the sub, we know we need to do that, right? So we're going to put that on the bass shots. And then we're going to have a separate one for the sub. Let's just copy and paste this to the sub. And on the sub, we're going to put it at 100. Look at that. Don't look at me. Bruh, like I'm not even a drum and bass producer, but I am a sound designer. That's my specialty. And every time I get these DMB duffs, yeah, you can't make our music. It's too complex. I'm like, it's not fucking complex. When you have the right sounds, it sounds good. So if you guys like the sounds, evilsounds.com. I promise you, good sounds, man. Good sounds. All right, let's move on to another example. So this is one where multiple sounds are playing. This is when you want to use a sub because you want to maintain everything properly. We go from there. Okay, so here we have another example. I have this sound, which is called lead momo, which is supposed to be kind of like a bass. Sexy sound, right? But it needs support on the bottom end. So whenever you have a bass that you like the tone of it, but if you go lower on it, it gets too dark for you and you want to keep it up there, then this is the next example of when you're going to use a sub. Now, I want to use the sub because this is more of an advanced thing, okay? The sound has a shape to it. So as a producer, you have a couple of things that you can do. One, when you do the sub, you can follow that sound that you are using the sub on. Or two, you can say F it. The sub is its own identity and it's going to do its own thing. There is no right or wrong. It's what the song asks for. It's what the vibe, how it feels. If you find the track feels rather weird, it doesn't groove, it could be, again, that the sub is just not following it, okay? So we have the sound. We're going to pair it up with this sub that I've created beforehand for the drum and bass pack. Now, what I like to do in these scenarios is we can grab the shape of the top sound, the LFO, the shape, and we're going to copy that over to this guy. And we want the same attack. We want the same vibe on it. As you can see, the movement of it. It doesn't have to be from silence to that sound. It could be from like a certain volume to a certain volume to at least feel that. Have the sounds kind of mingle, the juices, you know, get them to interact. Look at that. This brings us to another part of it, of a newbie, where a newbie might fuck up. And usually what I see is if this bass goes up, they think, oh, the sub should follow it all the way up. And now they're like, yeah, but no, the sub will always remain in the power zone of C3, if it's at -3 octave on serum, to C4. Always there. Even if the melody decides to jump up to heaven, you know, like up here all the way, the sub doesn't follow. The sub stays down in earth and hell. Whatever you want to call that place down there where the low end is lumptious and the bitches are. Anyways, point being, you get the point there. This is another power for the sub. But in this scenario, we're following that top melody, that beautiful sound that Momo used in one song that we remade for this pack for you guys to have fun with it. The last reason you might decide to use a sub. And this one's a little bit kind of like, you know, if you're going to jump off the bridge, daddy ain't going to follow you. But if you want to do it, I will guide you to do it properly. Okay, so if you have a bass sound that is wide, then you might want to have a sub. And this one gets interesting because it's more advanced, but I think you guys can handle it at this point. If you agree, hit the like, leave a comment. But most people will do a Reese bass for liquid DMB or whatever. They do this, and as soon as you put more than one voice inside of serum and detune, you get width. I'm a huge believer that sub low end being wide like that. I mean, some people like it, and you know, like I said before, some people like jumping off bridges and dying for some reason, but I'm not one of those people. I love my life. So, you know, some people want to do it like this. What I recommend you do is if you're going to do a Reese and you're going to do the whole shebang like this. Okay, it sounds good. Mono it. Let's put a little bit legato. Okay. I recommend you use a sub for this guy because the Reese is wide, and if you become more of an advanced producer, and some of you guys may be going, he right. So we're gonna do those. I'm gonna boost this part, but I do want a sub that's gonna be going more down the center. So there we go. Now you may be going, the fuck, Sam? It's the same, you know. But for those of you that have the element to do it, you know the biggest difference here is this. Look at that. Wait out, there's a know what I'm doing here. I'm going into unknown territory. I don't prepare my videos in advance. Papi, vámonos. Now let's take that off. Bring the low end in here. See the difference, bro? Why would you think I'm misguiding you? There's people in the comments saying you don't know yeah, you don't know nothing, bro. You're just jealous. There's multiple right answers. The question is, how much can you do? Trust yourself. Trust your skill level. Like all I'm doing with this video is I'm catering to the advanced and to the intermediate and to the newbies. There was some guy telling me that I shouldn't call them newbies, but I think they should be called newbies until their dues are paid, and that's totally fine. If they're gonna cry about it, then fuck. Imagine when they release a song, bro. They're gonna cry when someone says their sidechain sucks. If you guys like the way that I teach, do you want to support the channel, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com. And if you want to further your knowledge, I did make a video about how the truth about getting your kick and bass to sound good, to sound fat. This video is meant to be an add-on to that. So if you guys want to watch it and you haven't watched it, check it out right there. But most of all, guys, have fun making music. Be simple, be complex, write good music. Don't do a bunch of dumb shit because you can't write. Trust your melodies, be strong, and I'll see you guys next time for another video. Peace out, take care, and you guys have a good one.